Upcoming episodes on the Flying Monkey podcast. Country music artist Grant Malloy Smith. Three-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage. Actor-musician, the one and only Chris Mulkey. Father's rights advocate Robert Garza. And new episodes of Parent Stories. Go to flyingmonkeypodcast.com and select your favorite social media site to join us. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. Welcome back to the Flying Monkey podcast, and this segment is called Learning Theory with Dr. Bill, and it's sponsored by hopeanddarkness.me and stoptheabuse.info. And we're back again with questions from parents for you, Dr. Bill. How you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
So I got one sent to us, and it's a mother. She's actually in Canada. The funniest thing is that she's a parent with Hope and Darkness, and she sent in her message to have us ask you. The court had ordered her to go, and her child to go through a psychological evaluation, and the report came back with the psychologist saying something about her having histrionic personality disorder. And then the court, reading that report, had just completely abolished her visitation. So she wasn't allowed to see her daughter anymore. And so what you want to tell us about that situation and story and what happened with that?
Sure. I know exactly which parent you're referring to. We have a parent in Canada. She's been with us a little over a year, and she came to us with a problem that she had been in the family court in her hometown, and that they ordered a psych eval, which came back with histrionic personality disorder. The recommendation from the psychologist was that all contact between the child and the mother be suspended except for phone calls. So the father is supposed to arrange phone calls. And the second recommendation was that the child was to attend therapy sessions with a mental health therapist. So what we saw at that time was, after several months of engagement with the therapist, the daughter, who had a good relationship with her mother, a good dynamic. They were expressing affection with one another and all the kinds of things you would expect from a child who was in a positive, fit and loving relationship with a mother. The child became worse. What happened, when I say became worse, the child began to express behaviors of contact refusal, defiance, and disrespect. Was very angry every time she saw the mother or engaged with the mother on the phone calls. And the phone calls became fewer and fewer, and it was getting to the point where there was practically no communication. And so we were called upon to look at the situation, engage with the court, and come up with a solution. So what accounts for the behavior of the child was the fact that the court followed the advice of a mental health person, which said mother and daughter shouldn't have any contact with one another. And of course, having gotten to know the mother, we looked at the situation through an observational strategy, and we created a timeline, and we looked at the parenting behaviors of the mother in real time, which we had data to support. And we determined that everything that happened was a consequence of two things: the psychological evaluation and the fact that the court relied upon the recommendations of this report, and destroyed the life of this little girl. She was 8 years old. What we see is a father, in this case, who had full custody, essentially, of the little girl. And the father's custody, in the father's hands, the child began to express these behaviors. So we know that the behaviors are learned. We know that the behaviors are also maladaptive because they're antisocial behaviors. And we realize that any child who expresses maladaptive behavior, such as cruelty towards another parent, that cruelty and expressions of anger are not expressions that we would be consistent with a child being comfortable. So we can say for certain that the child was expressing behaviors that would demonstrate discomfort. Discomfort is correlated with health issues. It's also correlated with a situation where, as the child gets older, the child's going to practice these behaviors, and they're going to be consistently get worse, because we know from learning theory that the child who is in a situation or a paradigm where being systematically trained, there are no constraints against these behaviors that she's expressing, and therefore the behaviors are going to be practiced and they're going to become more proficient. This is the exact opposite of what should have been done with this little girl. She should never have been, first of all, the custody arrangement where it was cut off should never have happened in the first place. The second thing, she should never have been sent to a mental health therapist, because the mental health therapist, first of all, is going to waste time. You don't have time to waste when a child's expressing these behaviors or learning these kinds of behaviors. You have to protect the child, and you can't protect the child when the child has been ordered by the court not to see the other parent. So we recommended to the court that the mental health person be removed. We gave the court an explanation that was based on our normal explanations in learning theory, which the court knew nothing about. And we also provided the court an explanation that would lead to a solution. And the solution pathway was basically to reconnect mother and daughter in a novel experience field, which we call spatial conditioning. So within one weekend, we were able to change the behavior of the child, restore the affection, restore the attachment. Mother and daughter are doing well now. The older son, who was influenced by the behavior of his sister, is also engaged now in communication with his mother. And so it has become a success story. And without going into any long details, which I could talk about this for hours if you wanted me to, but that's what's happened. And so this was a situation which we never recommend mental health therapists for children in these kinds of situations because it's counterintuitive. As a matter of fact, if you know learning theory, the office itself of the mental health therapist becomes an extension of the experience field that's maintaining the strength of the very behaviors you're trying to get rid of, the maladaptive behaviors. And there couldn't be anything more stupid than to put a child in a situation like that. But the mental health community doesn't understand that. We do. I do, because I come from a vastly different field within the field of psychology, and I do understand what's going on there. So our recommendations worked, and the mother and daughter are back together again.
That's a phenomenal story. All the other parents that I've talked to that have worked with Hope in Darkness, it works. This is what they do, and this is what needs to be done in all family court cases with children. So just wanted to put my 2 cents in there on that. But again, thanks for coming on today, Bill, and we will see you again on our next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Flying Monkey podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe to our social media sites on Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and Truth Social. You can also go straight to our webpage at www.flyingmonkeypodcast.com.
Have you been victimized by family court? Are you suffering parental alienation? It's child abuse, and it's domestic violence by proxy. Are you stuck drowning in legal and mental health bills? Get off the treadmill, escape the trap. With over 10 years of research, thousands of parent interviews and case studies worldwide, we have developed a system that works to help you get your kids back. Join the movement now. HopeInDarkness.info, StopTheAbuse.info, AlienationAcademy.com, and TheFlyingMonkeyPodcast.com. It's time for change, and it's time to stop the abuse. Go to tinyurl.com/stop-parental-alienation.